Hi, this is Alex from devstories.eu. LlamaIndex Context-Augmented LLM Applications, Episode 8 of 14. You feed a language model one massive prompt, asking it to research a topic, write a report, and critically review its own work. It fails. The context window gets scrambled, tools are misused, and the output is a shallow compromise. The fix is breaking that massive prompt down into a swarm of specialists, using multi-agent swarms with AgentWorkflow. A single bloated agent struggles because it has too many tools and conflicting instructions. It has to decide when to search, when to draft, and when to edit, all while managing a massive internal context. AgentWorkflow solves this by letting you define a network of highly focused agents. Each agent operates with a narrow system prompt, a restricted set of tools, and a singular goal. Consider a content generation pipeline. Instead of one mega agent, we create three distinct function agents. First, the researcher. We equip this agent with a web search tool and instruct it strictly to gather facts. It does not write prose. Next, we define the writer. We strip away the search tools entirely to prevent it from getting distracted. Its only job is to take raw facts and draft clean paragraphs. Finally, we define the reviewer. We give it guidelines on tone and factual accuracy, instructing it to critique the text. Here is the key insight. Having multiple agents is useless if they cannot coordinate, but giving them free rein to talk to anyone creates chaos. You have to explicitly wire them together. In AgentWorkflow, you do this by defining handoff permissions. When you configure your agents, you specify a property called CanHandoffTo. This accepts a list of other agents. For our pipeline, we give the researcher permission to hand off to the writer. We give the writer permission to hand off to the reviewer. We also give the reviewer permission to hand off back to the writer if the text needs revision. This creates a strict directed graph of agents. The framework enforces these boundaries. The researcher cannot bypass the writer and send raw notes straight to the reviewer. It simply does not have the authorization. To execute this, you pass your list of agents into an AgentWorkflow instance. You start the process by running the workflow with an initial user query, pointing it at the researcher to kick things off. The workflow framework manages the shared state and the routing automatically. The researcher runs its search tools, compiles the data, and internally decides its job is done. It then uses its handoff tool to pass control along with the gathered data to the writer. The writer takes that context, drafts the report, and hands off to the reviewer. If the reviewer spots a flaw, it triggers a handoff back to the writer with feedback. This loop continues until an agent decides the work is complete and returns a final response to the user instead of triggering another handoff. Constraining an agent to a single role and explicitly defining its communication paths is the most reliable way to force complex, multi-step reasoning out of language models. That is all for this one. Thanks for listening and keep building.